Let's face it, there has almost never been a better time for video games. Sure, nostalgia is probably going to warp our view, and a lot of us probably have really fond memories of the 360 era, where games weren't riddled with microtransactions around every corner. It felt like nearly everything was just fun to play, and developers were just making games with the sole purpose of selling you a fun experience, not a $2 cosmetic. More like $20 these days. Games let you do wild and crazy things without any barriers because, well, screw it, it'd be fun. That was the foundation for heavy hitters of that era. Games like Halo, Mass Effect, Assassin's Creed, Gears of War, Far Cry, God of War. The list just goes on and on. Now, don't get me wrong, I am well aware that these games were funded in the attempt to make money. Corporations have always and will always own the gaming industry and want to make a dollar at the end of the day. So I'm not sitting here trying to glamorize the video game production of old, because we all know it was riddled with crunch culture and people just going the extra mile because they were passionate about the project, without ever getting compensated for that passion. And as we know, passion doesn't pay the bills, so pay your fucking devs. And that's also not to say the industry is even any better these days, but I just know a lot of people, including myself, have these rose-tinted glasses of video game development of old. For me, it was from watching old Bungie documentaries from the development of like Halo and Halo 2, where they only show the best bits and the cool moments and act like everything was fine and good back then, when we all know it definitely wasn't. But at the very least, back then, it didn't feel like soulless corporations were trying everything they could to reach into your back pocket, grab your wallet out, and just rip every single dollar they can out of you. All that to say, despite the flaws of modern gaming, we have received some of the best games of all time in recent years. Incredible experiences like Elden Ring, God of War 2018, Cyberpunk 2077, now that it's actually fixed and working, Ghost of Tsushima, Final Fantasy 16, Baldur's Gate 3, Armored Core 6, Doom Eternal, all of the recent Yakuza games have all just been fantastic. But there's just one genre of games that I used to love with all my heart that doesn't seem to have any modern equivalent. I can't even think of the last time I've been excited for, let alone played, a good new racing game. So, what the fuck happened? Looking back, the last time I had fun playing a racing game was back with The Crew and Need for Speed 2015, which was literally a decade ago. And the only other title that's edged me for a good game for over 10 years is Halo. And I'm still waiting. But even taking those two games into consideration, I still didn't really ever love those games. I liked them, but they just didn't hit. They didn't grip me like older racing games used to. Genuinely, not a single racing game has been able to scratch that itch that Need for Speed Underground 2 and Midnight Club 3 used to do for me. And I already hear what you're saying. There it is, fucking old man crying about why a new game isn't like old game, but it's true. Those games had me in an absolute chokehold as a child, and I could play them for hours on end, even into my teenage years, without really ever getting bored. That is when, Need for Speed 2015 and The Crew came out, I would still find myself going back to these older games. So what is it that's so different about them compared to the games we have now? And is it actually that the games have gotten worse, or have I just fallen out of love with racing games? Let's find out in another episode of Niche Topic I'm going to yap about for like an hour or so. We'll start with modern racing games and what the fuck is up with modern racing games. I'm so sick and tired of booting up a new modern arcade racer and just going through the motions of the typical yo home slice, welcome to our wacky crazy festival where you can literally do anything you want, man. Here's 100 race quests spread across the map everywhere so you have no idea where to go or where to start. And don't forget, You've actually got to do a little bit of every single different thing we're offering to meaningfully progress. I don't care if you don't like off-roading or stunt racing or any other random niche version of a race in this game. If you don't do them, you're not going to get anywhere. Because god damn it, this is a racing game and we're going to give you every single kind of race known to man, and you are going to play and enjoy every single one of them. Just you wait until our next festival when we introduce cycling. Don't forget to buy the Racing Battle Pass, whatever the fuck, to unlock all of these crazy, wacky, exotic cars right away. And hey, just for booting up the game and playing for the first time, here's 10 cars that are splattered with our ugly ass decals on them that you can't take off because fuck you, but you're going to use them anyway because they're faster than anything you have. And we're just going to give them all to you right away because we know that your little brain just can't wait to unlock everything. And if you don't have a Lambo or a Supra in the first 5 seconds, you're just going to go out of your way and complain on Reddit or something. So get on out there, earn nothing, marvel at our one style of Rocket Bunny kit and maybe a carbon hood and splitter or something that we call good customization, and don't let the decision fatigue hit you on the way out. Like, come on, man. I don't even have to name the game. What the fuck is this? And I just got a note here, like, let's be real. This isn't to invalidate anyone's experience. I understand there is a market for a game like this. Clearly, there are some people playing it, or a lot of people playing it because they keep making them. And if you have fun with games like that, more power to you. But personally, they just aren't for me and aren't for a lot of others. To me, they have no soul, they're forgettable, and they can't even keep my interest for like an hour before I just get over it. Then they inevitably sit on my Series X's hard drive, collecting dust, taking up space until inevitably something better comes along and they get the boot. These games just don't do anything to make me care, and they try so hard to grip at me and make me stay by throwing free cars and random shit at me, but that just doesn't work. You can't just throw freebies at the problem and expect the game to suddenly be good. All they're doing is adding extra weight to already fragile foundations. All I can say is I'm super glad all these racing games are free on Game Pass, because I would feel super bad if I had actually genuinely paid for any of these things. And yes, you don't need to tell me in the comments. I understand I am paying for Game Pass as a service, so technically I'm paying for the games. But you got to consider, these games I try and end up being absolutely garbage and uninstall are offset by the actual great games that I get value out of, like a Dragon Gaiden and Persona 3 that just totally offset the costs. And really I'm paying nothing, let's be real. I know it's copium, but whatever. Now, okay, I get it. I hear what you're saying. Festival arcade races are just a theme of the times. And if I don't like it, well, too bad. I'm sure plenty of people didn't like the 100th street racing style racing game back in the early 2000s when they came out and they were all the rage. But here's the thing, there's so much more to it than that. This goes far deeper than just the trending style of racing games. This drills all the way down to the fundamental way they're created and the tactics that they use to try and keep you engaged. Like I said before, it's a common trend for a lot of these games to just give you cars right off the bat because fuck it, dopamine hit, stay, keep playing. These publishers can't afford for you to lose interest in their game, otherwise there's zero chance of you eventually potentially buying one of their microtransactions that they feature. So rather than actually make the game interesting to try and keep your attention, they compensate by throwing a hell of a lot of shit at you and just hoping something sticks. And fortunately for them, a lot of the times it does. Otherwise, they wouldn't continue making racing games in this way. But the problem is, doing this isn't without consequence to the player at the end of the day. And it all comes at the cost of, well, an actual interesting and fun racing game. This spiral downwards all starts with your starter car. And don't get me wrong, I don't inherently have an issue with starter cars in some of these modern racing games, as even Need for Speed has kind of stuck with its roots and maybe given you a wider selection of cars, but haven't given you insane cars like A90 Supras or the brand new Nissan Z as starter cars in these games. But our most modern Need for Speed iteration, Unbound, has its own issues we will definitely get into later. I think my main issue with this comes from how fast you cycle through cars, meaning that you really build no attachment to that car you started with or any car you progressively unlock for that matter. Because I mean, hell, why would you stick with that old Type R when eventually, like not even an hour into the game, you'll get a Huracan just thrown your way as a bonus for playing for an hour. And really, why would you stick with any car for any prolonged period of time when you're just chucked a decent sum of money very early on in the game and every single car available is pretty much available to you at the start? Now I get it. This one's a bit niche. It's kind of related to me and my personal preference for the games, and a lot of people would probably get annoyed at being stuck in one car for a prolonged period of time and really want to see the catalog of what's available for them so they can save up and buy something straight away and have the car they want from the very beginning. And I mean, I get why a lot of people would want this freedom. I'm guilty of it as well. Sometimes I'll boot up a new racing game and the first thing I will do is go to whatever shop there is in that game and try to find my own car. Only be disappointed that they never have the ISF, it's just the RCF, or if I'm really lucky, the LFA, which is cool, but it's just not the same damn thing. But even so, personally, I'd rather a game where that isn't even an option. A game that just features some progression restrictions. Now, I know that may sound contradictory to what I said like a couple minutes ago when I said games just let you used to do everything because fuck it, it'd be fun, but progression restrictions I feel like are different from gameplay restrictions. When I'm talking gameplay restrictions, I think more of things like Halo, and where you used to be able to go out of bounds and do all this crazy shit, whereas now the kill timers. There's a difference there. Hopefully that makes sense though. What I'm looking for in a racing game is a more crafted experience, with a curated, smaller, hand-picked selection of cars that eventually unlock as you progress, so you don't know what everything's going to be right away. This in turn keeps you excited to progress further and see what you're eventually going to unlock. Like imagine, like back in the day, you would see cars all blacked out with question marks, just silhouettes, right? Now you don't get that sense of wonder. You already know what the end game is, but that's just no fun, is it? You've got nothing to look forward to by the end game. And I know that I'm not the only one that wants this style of racing game back, which is why so many people are just unhappy with the style of game we've got now, and why so many people are desperate for a remake of Need for Speed Underground 2. Underground 2 was the pinnacle of racing games for me. It had the vibe, it had the customization, it had the most godly soundtrack I've seen in a piece of early 2000s media since the Digimon movie. It captured the essence of car culture without being overly cringy. And a personal favorite aspect of the game in my eyes is that it had no cops. I'm gonna say it, I'm not a big fan of the police. Fuck the police even. All cops are bastards, if you will. At the very least in racing games. If I wanted to be pestered by the goddamn cops, I would just go out and street race in real life or play GTA or something. There's obviously a market for it, and that's where games like Hot Pursuit or Heat kind of have their niche and should stay. But any game that's dedicated to street racing that doesn't have some form of pursuit, police, any game that doesn't have the illusion of police in the title shouldn't have police in the game, if that makes sense. To me, cops have always been a nuisance in racing games, but that's a topic we can delve into a little bit deeper when we start to talk about the modern iterations of Need for Speed a little bit later. For now, let's put our rose-tinted glasses on and reminisce about what made this Need for Speed so great. Starting with progression. You know that crazy overstimulation and decision fatigue I was talking about with modern racing games? Well, gone. Instead of flooding you with endless random races and cars, they start the game by giving you a little treat, being the 350Z, and swiftly just take that away from you, leaving you with some slow, somewhat boring cars to start with, because you have to earn your way through. The choice paralysis and endless type of cars given to you for free does not exist here. There is a very manageable amount of things to do at any given time, and there are a nice number of hidden things sprinkled throughout to keep you engaged as you go through. First and foremost though, the reason that this can all work is because the game lays out its framework by not giving you the entire open world to roam through straight away. So you're given the chance to learn and explore and delve into this small section that you're given to start. And the best comparison I can think of with this is Kamurocho from the Yakuza series. Sure, it is small and repetitive, we go there game after game after game, that's a different scenario, but it's charming, and there really is something special about learning every nook and cranny in this smaller map and knowing the whole thing like the back of your hand. Then in Underground 2, as you progress, the world starts to open up to you little by little, section by section, until you inevitably have access to everything by the end. And because you don't get access to the entire open world map the second you launch the game, content can actually be drip fed to you as you progress. You know the thrill of those barn finds in Forza Horizon? Well, imagine that, but for a variety of things other than just old cars. One thing that I always found so damn cool about Underground 2 is that at each stage, when the map opens up and starts to get a little bit bigger step by step, more shops become available to you, but you don't know that because each and every one of them is hidden and not shown to you on the map. There are multiple body shops, performance shops, graphics shops, car lots, and car specialty shops all scattered around the map. And each new shop that you do find will have a larger inventory based on your progression as you go through the game. But again, you've actually got to go out, explore, and familiarize yourself with the map to find them. And half the time, you don't have to go so far out of your way. They might be near races. It's very intuitive and it's fun. It's cool, it's hidden, but it doesn't waste your time. And speaking of how easy they are to find, it's pretty obvious where these things are hidden if they aren't on your way to a race or somewhere else. The map actually has inbuilt signage with little either circles or triangles in different colors to show you where a shop might be, and you can just follow those signs to get there. So yes, the game does technically tell you, it just doesn't pinpoint it on a map so you can find it straight away. You've got to do a little bit of exploring. And I mean, sometimes if you just look at the map, you will see a little dead end somewhere off a highway or some random stretch of road. When you see that fork in the road or dead end, it seems kind of obvious there's going to be something there. It was a rewarding part of that game. The shops were fun to come across, and as you found new shops and unlocked new parts, it actually made you feel like you were progressing and, you know, in the sense of this story, gaining a reputation for yourself. You were out there winning races and earning that sweet street cred, so why wouldn't these shops want to give you more stuff? Not only were the shops hidden, there were also hidden races scattered throughout the map. They were never essential to complete, but were really cool to come across. And the best part, when you win, you would pick up a sponsorship. What does that mean? It means a mini in-game photo shoot with your car and a photo of it smack bang on the front cover of a magazine. Now sure, this is a concept that has kind of been lost to the digital age. However, people clearly still love the idea of seeing their car on the front of a magazine. Because whenever a new put your car on the front of a magazine filter shows up on Instagram, you see every motherfucker and their dog chuck their car in it and post it straight on their story. And even if the concept doesn't resonate in the modern day, what is stopping developers from just setting a racing game in the past? Why haven't we got a game set in the Wangan around 80s, 90s Japan? Why haven't we got a game set in the early 2000s with a Fast and Furious aesthetic? Why isn't there an Australian P-plate simulator? Yeah, no, actually that exists already. And yes, before you comment, I know Night Runners exists and it looks cool as fuck. But at the end of the day, it is only a demo game right now, and after all, it is an indie game, so it might never actually get a finished version. Plus, I highly doubt it would ever be on a platform other than PC, which is just a damn shame and really kills the mass appeal a game like that could have. Not like I could expect an indie developer to put their niche racing game on all platforms, but you know what I mean. It is worth mentioning though that Night Runners does do almost exactly what I want out of a racing game, and also works as a great proof of concept to show that there is an audience out there for this type of game. An audience that is sick of all these modern racing games, just like I am, and would rather play something a little more down to earth with a little less microtransactions and a little more soul. I think the Steam reviews kind of speak for themselves in that aspect too. But there are a lot of things Night Runners doesn't have and likely never will have because it doesn't have that AAA budget behind it. So if we fast forward from something like Underground 2, what's the closest we've got to a truly great modern arcade racer? And I think we only get as far as 2015 with Need for Speed. This game was set out to be a reboot for the Need for Speed franchise and a return to form, going back to its underground roots. And to that end, it did a lot right. It nailed the aesthetic, even if it was a little too on the nose with the monster product placements and real life cutscenes. Like, no word of a lie, you could have cut easily 10, 15 minutes worth of fluff from the beginning of the game to really set the mood in a different way and get into the action so much quicker. But overall, even with some of the kind of cringe cutscenes at times, I much prefer this approach to something like Unbound, which, don't worry, we'll get to. The customization was great, and the addition of suspension tuning to get near perfect fitment in most scenarios was pretty great. There are a few kinks and quirks in the customization, like the wheel selection, that annoy me a bit. I actually much prefer the catalog style it's got in Unbound. And also there was one little glitch that was never actually fixed, where it seems like only on some cars or some parts, you can't remove parts to add other parts that become restricted because you have parts on. For example, say you progress and unlock a new front bumper. Cool. The problem is you can't actually view these new front bumpers because you happen to apply a splitter earlier on. Then issue 2 that really exacerbates the issue is there's no way to actually remove just that splitter so then you can see the new front bumpers. But I've noticed this depends on what car you're using. For example, this just wouldn't work on my Type R, but when I purchased an FD RX-7, I could press the triangle button to just remove the splitter and see the new front bumpers. So on certain cars, the only way to actually remove the splitter to see new front bumpers, or vice versa with any part of the car, I guess this would apply to the rear bumper as well, or maybe even the side skirts, is by using the remove all function, which, as the name suggests, removes all the modifications you've already done, meaning you have to just do it all again, which is just, it's stupid, it's frustrating, it shouldn't be a thing. And hey, at the end of the day, why the hell can't I have front splitters with these other bumpers? It's not like it's crazily integrated into the bumper. It's just, at this point in this game, basically a flat freaking polygon underneath the damn bumper. Tangent aside, customization, while not perfect, was back and better than ever. The game was completely set at night, which I know while some people didn't love, I got no complaints here. However, what I do have some complaints about is the constant rain, the film grain, and the motion blur, all of which you just cannot turn off. Brother, half the time I'm driving, I can't fucking see. Sometimes when I'm driving in this game, I think to myself, damn, this has got to be what people with astigmatism must see when they're driving, because I just can't see anything. And I know there's no astigmatism effects in this game. I'm just trying to emphasize the fact that when I'm driving in this game, because of the combination of it being at night, wet, film grain, motion blur, when you're racing, I just can't see. And mind you, I have 20/20 vision. This shouldn't be a problem. The game can be so pretty when sitting still or in photo mode, but when you're racing, man, if it weren't for the bright shining arrows directing me where to go, I'd be fucked. This is a real trend I've seen in modern games as a whole though, not just exclusive to Need for Speed. Even in games like Call of Duty, because of how much visual clutter is on the screen, enemies are just harder to see now, plain and simple. Players just blend in with their environment far easier, and the difference is starking when you go back and play older games like Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 2, and the like. The only way you'd be able to easily spot someone nowadays like you used to be able to is if they're rocking some flashy, non-militaristic type skin. So the point I'm trying to make here is that higher graphical fidelity does not always equal better graphics. And my perfect cherry-picked example is Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary. In 2011, 10 years after its initial release, Combat Evolved got its remaster by 343 Industries, who from the very beginning cemented themselves as a studio who had no idea what to do with Halo, because they absolutely ruined it. What they delivered wasn't an improvement on the game in any capacity. What they delivered was literal cancer upon the eyeballs. Everything was just too much. This remaster is what I like to call a literal sensory overload. There is way too much going on, and if you want to hear me rant more about it, you can check out some of the stream VODs from when I played it live. But the TLDR of it is, they just added so much stuff seemingly for the sake of it, and in doing so absolutely ruined the atmosphere at so many points in the game. It's one of those just because you can doesn't mean you should kind of situations. My favorite example from this game is in the mission Truth and Reconciliation. In the original game, it's dark, ominous, and overall painted as very clearly a stealth op. You're supposed to go in quiet and infiltrate the Covenant carrier to rescue Captain Keyes, and the look of the mission reflects that. It's a little dark, but not goddamn why is this movie shot so dark I literally can't see anything dark. And if you just happen to have terrible vision, the sniper you were actually given at the start of the mission has an inbuilt night vision. The set piece of the mission is the Covenant ship, the Truth and Reconciliation, and it is ominously weighing above you for the first half of the mission. The reason it feels so oppressing is because of its sheer scale, and part of the reason it feels so daunting is because of the way it just blends in with the night sky. Keep in mind, at this point in the series, we have never seen a Covenant carrier before. This is a first. And this wasn't just some graphical limitation issue, it was a deliberate art direction choice to make the ship look bigger than it is, and hide amongst the stars in the night sky from below. I'd almost say it's akin to that picture of naval camo you might have seen floating around online. It's intimidating, it's awesome, and every single thing that I've said was stripped away when 343 remastered the mission. They just brighten everything up and add so much senseless detail, you lose any sense of mystique the original had. And not only does that piss me off for thematic reasons, there is just so much going on here that, again, this is just an objectively worse experience than the original was, despite there being more detail. And this is not so different for racing games. Underground 2 was dark, but not too dark. It has plenty of street lights and ambient lighting to make the road and environment easier to see. Because it's old and isn't committed to being as realistic as physically possible, I mean it might have been back then, but those standards are very different to now, you lose all that modern visual clutter of just putting stuff around for the sake of it, and just end up with far more straightforward roads and paths. And because developers weren't worried about things like light bloom and all these other crazy effects to make the world feel more realized and moody, which, don't get me wrong, can be a good thing. You want these games to look realistic, but when these things aren't considered as much, lighting just becomes more bright and abundant, and your suspension of disbelief doesn't really matter that much. You kind of take the quality of life of being able to see over the suspension of disbelief. And again, that might sound contradictory to what I was saying with Halo, but in that original Halo mission, everything was pretty clear and easy to see. You didn't need to brighten that up. Whereas Need for Speed and Need for Speed 2015, everything is just dark. Like I said before, I love that it's set at night and the atmosphere is great, but when you pair the film grain with the constant rain, with the motion blur, it just becomes a little miserable. Vision aside, there are a number of other downsides to 2015 as well. It's by no means a perfect Need for Speed entry. Always online is a huge detriment that just ruins the quality of life for this game and makes it annoying to play sometimes. Like, I'm playing on a Series X that can load up games like Elden Ring and Cyberpunk 2077 near instantly. But Need for Speed 2015? It always takes forever, and I can only assume that is because it is always online. Plus, even more frustrating, you can't even use Xbox's quick resume feature because each time you close the game, it fully closes and then you have to go through that loading screen and wait endlessly all over again. So there's really no pick up and play, continue where you left off here. As a full-grown adult, sometimes you only get 30 minutes to pick up and play here and there. So all of this senseless waiting really just gets to me. And I know, it is the most first world problem ever, but it is what it is. It's not like my internet's slow either, but yeah, load times are just frustrating. It's not 2005 anymore. I shouldn't be waiting endlessly for a game to pick up and load on a powerful console. My biggest gripe, however, is that you can't even fucking pause the game properly because it is always online. Like, I could be in the middle of a race and then my dog might start going off its nut because something is happening and I gotta go check what's going on, and because life just happens, I lose a single player race in a single player game. Like, when you're in a multiplayer game, fair enough, these are things you understand. But a single player experience? Really? I shouldn't be punished for having to leave the game for 5 seconds. And even in games that aren't always online, like Elden Ring I just mentioned a second ago, it still frustrates me. I wish pause was a thing. There's no reason it shouldn't be. Life happens. In Need for Speed's case, it's stupid, and we are going to see further consequences of it being always online, probably in the not so distant future. With old game servers shutting down left and right, we'll probably end up being left high and dry, just like The Crew. Which is another game from this time I do remember enjoying despite some flaws, but one I can't really talk about with much depth in this video because I can't go back and replay it to experience it again. Anyway, wrapping up my Need for Speed 2015 negativity speedrun. The map feels too big at times, and half the time it feels like you're spending more time traversing between races and commuting rather than just actually racing. This is especially frustrating in the early game when, like, come on man, I just want to progress, not commute. As I already mentioned, I definitely prefer the Underground 2 method where the map is slowly opened up to you. So really, at the start, you've only got a small area to traverse and you're not spending yonks commuting from one part of the city to the other just to go to the next race. It's a waste of time. The music it's just kind of This is super subjective, and my nostalgia goggles might just be on a little bit too tight here because Need for Speed Underground 2 soundtrack is very early 2000s, but it just feels far more varied and timeless, whereas 2015 soundtrack, well, it just feels very 2015 with the dubstep and the electronic music, and I don't know, it's not really a period of music I tend to find myself going back to personally. Sure, I might have enjoyed it over 10 years ago, back when I was like 15 and playing this game, but nowadays I just don't feel like it really holds up. To me, it just kind of gives off that Ricer kid energy, you know? And the whole Monster Energy plugs and the corniness of the cutscenes all just kind of feeds into that too. So the whole overall package and facade that this was going in the right direction with the right aesthetic kind of starts to break at the seams a little bit here. And finally, the biggest issue outside of the cops, because like I've already said, I don't really like cops in my racing games unless they're specifically a cop-centered racing game. Like, let's be real here, this is Need for Speed, this is supposed to be an underground kind of homage, this is at Most Wanted. But the biggest issue that stopped this game from being great is unfortunately how the driving feels, which is somehow a very common trend in modern Need for Speed titles. And it's insane how dedicated racing games somehow can't get the driving part right. In 2015, the best way I can describe it is that it feels a little bit floaty. Sure, you can tune the car to feel a little better, but no matter what you do, it always feels like the car isn't quite doing what you want it to do. But once you get used to the play style, it's not completely unplayable, and I can't say I hated my time playing through it. The whole brake to drift thing is a little weird and kind of annoying, but I can almost forgive it in this game because it's nowhere near as egregious as what our most modern installment does. Which is a great segue to one of the worst racing games I've ever had the displeasure of storing on my hard drive. Need for Speed Unbound. For fuck's sake, this game is frustrating. And I think the main reason for that is because it could have been so good. Unlike 2015, the graphics are a little bit more stylized and less RTX on in your face. And you can see it side by side with this Type R I picked as the starting car in both games. I think that's a step in the right direction. I'm always more for stylized and nice art direction than I am graphical fidelity. And the best part is it's a lot easier to actually see what's going on, at least at first. I can also turn off the motion blur, which is a huge plus. However, despite that, there is still way too much going on in this game. Even with the crazy wacky car graphics turned off, which mind you wasn't an option at launch, the game is still quite literally a sensory overload. It's like that one Meat Canyon Mr. Beast skit. I was blind in 2015, but then after looking at Unbound, God, what a terrible day to have eyes. And it's such a shame because it can look cool, it has its moments, and a lot of stills and slower parts of this game will look quite good, just like in 2015. But when you're racing, it's just...
You take the turbo out first?
That is how it feels to play Unbound. Everything is just skittish and fast and overwhelming, and I just hate it. Even down to the customization screen, I feel like I'm gonna get motion sickness trying to navigate through the parts. Like, whose idea was this and why is it so fast? Like, calm down. And it's a shame because the customization options, at least from what I saw and the time I played, seem just as good, if not maybe better than what was available in 2015. It has that same issue of the map being way too big right off the bat. So you spend half your time just fucking commuting. I mean, hell, some of the missions aren't even races. You are just commuting as a glorified Uber driver. And I know, all right, I know. I'm complaining about driving in a racing game. Make it make sense. But in these games, especially early on, you just want to get stuck in the action so that you can actually progress. Because progression and customization is half the fun of an arcade racer. And I don't want to waste my time with random filler shit. If I did, I'd just go and play an Ubisoft game. And it's not like we're in some crazy, gorgeous, fleshed out world like Cyberpunk or something, where I'd actually want to go on the scenic route and take in the atmosphere. We're just in
a pretty unremarkable American city, lacking in both charm and character.
Night City, that deserves its name. I don't even remember what the city in Unbound is called, and it doesn't really matter at all. All that aside though, the thing that takes the cake for getting under my skin and wasting my goddamn time in this game is, you guessed it, the police. And holy fuck, are they ever present and fucking annoying in this game. They are just everywhere and they are way too aggressive. They pop up in nearly every race and ruin it, and then they have the audacity to stick around post-race like a bad smell and are impossible to get rid of. I am confident they were made in this way just to pad out the game time. Otherwise, it could only be advertised as and reviewed by IGN as like a 10-hour game max. Honestly, I feel like a lot of things are just added in to pad out time, and it's frustrating. This whole game is just so frustrating, and that's the best way I can put it. And it's not the way anyone should feel playing a game. It's supposed to be fun. Speaking of things that aren't fun, it's time to address the elephant in the room. The thing Need for Speed, a racing game, still can't manage to get right. The driving. Like, I stereotyped and shit on Horizon in the beginning, and it does have its own wealth of problems, but for God's sake, at the very least, the driving actually feels good. And you get a cockpit view, which is a nice touch. But how? How in the world does Need for Speed keep fucking this up? The main issue with Unbound's racing is that it's all centered around burst NOS. And burst NOS fucking sucks. The introduction of burst NOS is this game's little quirk to set itself apart, where if you take on any risky or stylish behavior, your burst NOS meter will fill up progressively 1 bar at a time, and for a limited time while the bar is full, you can hit a button to burst a little bit forward. In reality, the amount you boost isn't insane, but they make it really fast and snappy, which again makes it harder to actually see in those moments. So you're more likely to crash and become a victim to this game's awful and inconsistent crash physics. Plus, because burst NOS is a resource that expires quite quickly, you've pretty much just got to use it when you get it, even if it is the most inopportune time. You can't just sit and bank it for when you have a nice clean straight ahead with no other cars. The biggest issue though is that because burst NOS exists, it fundamentally changes the way this entire game plays. It's not something you can just ignore. You need to completely change your playstyle and just do stupid shit that does not make sense. Also, you can incorporate it or you just won't win any races, all because it is baked into the game. Plus, the rubber banding is insane, and so are the AI drivers in general. The whole thing is just so stupidly unforgiving and expects you to change everything you do just so you can drive in a way that gets you burst NOS so that you can spam burst NOS. Because of all that, every race in Unbound typically goes something like this. Massive fucking clump of cars at the start and around the first corner. If you're lucky, you'll cheese ahead of them, but then you can't make a single mistake or you just won't win, because if at any point, including that first turn, someone gets in front of you, you're never going to get back in front because the AI rarely makes mistakes and is always going at full speed. No matter how well you learn the course and how perfectly you execute each and every one of the remaining laps, you will never get ahead. And that's just so frustrating and leaves the game to be start a race, find any way to cheese yourself in front, and if you can't do that right at the very beginning, hit restart, because it's a waste of time. And if you do find a way to do it, but then make any small crash or mistake, also hit restart, because the AI is going to very swiftly overtake you and you will never get back ahead. What makes this even worse? There is only a limited amount of restarts you are able to do per in-game day. Like, seriously, for a game that's so unforgiving, I hate it. I hate it so damn much. And again, I have no idea how Need for Speed, the franchise that have been making racing games for literal decades now, continue to fuck this up. Even without the dreaded burst NOS that makes you change the fundamental way you drive, the stock standard driving also still feels kinda crap. Rather than feeling floaty like 2015, it's gone way too far in the complete other direction and just feels far too heavy and weighty. And I think this Reddit post I found sums it up best. You feel the weight transferring across your car when you're cornering, which means that too much gas at the wrong moment can easily make you spin out of control. This is good because it teaches a player early on that attack angle and exit matters, or at least it would. But the developers are trying to have it both ways, meaning that the handbrake is still some magical object which temporarily displaces your car's mass and makes you stop in an instant, and the brake to drift system is so broken that the game might think that you're trying to drift when you're halfway through a turn and suddenly your traction is gone. There's some sort of invisible traction control that steers your car, probably added to make driving easier, but it also makes the car handle in completely unpredictable ways. And a lot of the reason for why it feels that way is because the developers are trying to incentivize you to drive in a very particular way that'll fill your burst NOS. I'm tired, man. Just let me race normally, for God's sake. I think White Light summed it up best.
Sharp corners should be the biggest challenge, not for any reason rooted in game design, but because arcade or not, in Need for Speed I want to feel like I'm driving a car-like thing, not a UFO.
So where does that leave us with Unbound? Is it a complete disaster? Kinda. Did it do anything right? The music was alright, I suppose. I fuck with some of the songs, but I think that's just because they're modern. But honestly, nothing really stood out to me. I kind of see it going the ways of 2015, where I just kind of get over it in a couple of years, and comparing it to Underground 2, I mean, it's night and day. Just listen to No W, Nobody, Give It All, In My Head, Crashing Foreign Cars, The Death and Resurrection Show, Scavenger, Determined, Black Betty, and it's not even all just rock. Listen to stuff like Rush Hour and Hard EBM. That sounds like it came straight out of an old Armored Core game. Then, of course, we've got all the early 2000s hip-hop to boot. It holds up so well today, and each of those songs, especially the ones I listed off, left an impact. They hit hard and made you just want to drive fast, and nothing really does that for me here. Like, why not add some heavy rock music into Unbound? Unless there is somewhere that I completely missed, but I did listen to the whole soundtrack again on Spotify, and I don't remember hearing any. And even if they didn't want to do that, iterating more on the style they had here with just more better, impactful tracks could have been great too. They had a slow tire feature, so why not actually use some of his songs that had fit this game so much better? How about Tara Reid, or take it back a little with some Suicide Boys, Ski Mask? Hell, why not just go to TikTok, or if you really want to get to these boomer corporations, go on Instagram Reels and check out all of the car edits and what songs are being used there, because near all of them would go hard in any racing game, rather than, I don't know, what we've got now. I guess the car models and customization was alright, but that's kind of it. Even the story just annoyed the hell out of me. I really appreciate understated stories, and silent protagonists in particular go a long way, especially in racing games where you just want to be in the driver's seat and immersed much more than some other games. But man, do these characters ever love yapping, including your very own character. These guys just go on and on and on. And I'm not even joking. You can't even get a single second of peace without these guys telling you some bullshit you just don't really care or want to hear about. Over 90% of the time, I was cutting off their dialogue because I just happened to enter a race or a cutscene that would just end it there. They weren't even finished, and I was getting sick of it. Plus, there's also all the phone calls you get and are forced into. Unlike in 2015, where at the very least you could just hit the decline button if you weren't ready to have that conversation right now. But in Unbound, you're just strapped in like Alex Mason and force-fed constant yapping. Like, chill out. Let me play the game without chewing my ear off. I got so over it, I ended up going to the settings and turning the volume for character voices all the way down to 0, just so I could tolerate the game for long enough to form an opinion on it. And the only reason I know what the entire plot is because I watched another review going over Need for Speed Unbound, and I lost nothing muting it. Let's be real here. Now, the irony of me complaining about yapping while going to make basically an entire essay about this game, constantly yapping, isn't lost on me. And you're well within your right to turn my annoying voice all the way down to 0. But hey, you clicked on this video and you've gotten this far, so clearly I'm doing something right. In my case, I just wanted a racing game. I didn't sign up for the fucking Yap Olympics. And this isn't to throw any shade at the voice actors either. It isn't their fault they were served up fucking yappuccinos as their scripts. I don't know if I can ever say the fucking word yapping again without sounding like a cockhead. So where does this leave us? At the end of the day, I have done a lot of yapping. And really, it's not very helpful to say, why isn't car game like other car game? I've pretty much just vented my frustrations of car games over the past near 2 decades. And again, I know I'm not the only one dissatisfied with the current racing game catalog. Hell, even the Gran Turismo and Forza fans aren't having a great time right about now. At this point, you might be asking yourself, why doesn't this guy just give up? Pack it in. Maybe I just don't like arcade racing games anymore. Maybe I've grown up beyond it and they just aren't my thing. Because really looking at the current offerings, the only thing that seems interesting anymore is, I don't know, building a full racing sim and getting Assetto Corsa. So pretty much just sim racing. I'm just older now and maybe I really just have grown out of arcade races. Either I drive in real life or just the damn closest thing to it. But that's just not true, is it? Because there's just one massive glaring issue with that thought process. In recent times, I've genuinely had so much fun racing in games that aren't racing games. Games like Yakuza 5, where an entire side quest is dedicated to racing. It was absolutely fire. Hell, speaking of Yakuza, I had more fun with the pocket racing minigame than I did in the whole of Forza Horizon 5. And the biggest standout for me, of all things, was Cyberpunk 2077. The driving in this game feels great, and I heard it might have been clunky at launch and things have changed, but right now, if you play this game, it may take a second to get used to, but it feels fantastic. Even the motorcycle riding, it almost feels better than the driving. Ironically enough, it feels more like you're driving a real car in the futuristic game than it does in something like Unbound. I genuinely had more fun in the racing side quest of Cyberpunk 2077, which mind you, was only 4 races, than I have playing near any other racing game in the past decade. And of course, like I said earlier, I still love going back and playing those old racing games like Underground 2 and Midnight Club 3. You could paint that under the nostalgia brush, so it doesn't exactly help my argument, but I'd be doing a disservice not to mention them. Like, imagine going back 20 years and telling the younger version of yourself, hey bud, this is the best it's gonna get. Wild. So what is it? We established what was so cool about these older arcade races like Underground 2. We established how modern ones have fumbled and how, ironically, racing in non-racing games have been much more fun. So why? Why is it that modern, dedicated racing games aren't fun anymore? I think we just come full circle to what I was saying at the start. They simply have no soul. They're forgettable, they can't keep player interest, and just come off as desperate by trying to shove endless free cars in your face to keep you excited. And you know that feeling sometimes you get in the pit of your stomach when you just want to go back and play a game so bad. Like maybe it's already got to like 11, 12 o'clock at night. You've got work the next day. You really need to stop playing. So you go to bed. And the second your head hits that pillow, all you can think about is waking up again and playing that game. That still exists for me in certain circumstances. That existed for me with Armored Core 6. That existed for me when I played through Cyberpunk 2077. Obviously, I wasn't staying up that late, but regardless, I would want to wake up, before work in the morning at like 5 a.m. so I could get a quick hour of gameplay in before the gym. These things just don't exist for me with modern racing games anymore because they have no soul. A lot of it also boils down to these games just wasting your time with filler. They're doing the absolute most to try and pad out the game's runtime to make it feel like good value for money. But you can't cover up all the negatives, some being so egregious as the driving itself, with a massive band-aid of vast, soulless open world and a sensory overload of things to do. Playing modern racing games to me feels like playing modern Pokemon games. It's still masquerading as the thing you love, but it's a shell of its former self. A soulless cash grab banking on your love of a niche hobby. And I'm sick of it. I haven't been excited for a racing game in over a decade, and I can't see that changing anytime soon. So instead, I'm gonna spend more of my time and money on my car in real life and leave racing games behind. Sure, I can't street race in real life, but there is always the track, and that is quite an expensive venture by comparison. But hey, maybe we can bump those subscriber numbers up and get those views up, and you guys can subsidize that. Thanks. I got a long way to go till YouTube can subsidize my hobbies. But anyway, what do you think about racing games? Do you agree with me? Do you have different reasoning? Or did you watch this whole video until the end so you could take all of my arguments, pull them all apart, and just dunk on me in the comments? Either way, let me know in the comments. And if you did get this far, be sure to put skill issue in your comment so I know you actually watched all the way to the end. As always, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to sit here and listen to me yapping, and have a good one. Thanks.